Hi, everybody. I'm Rainbow, and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about, and I think it needs to be out there. And it has to do with the alien control, the religious control, and the military control over abductees. And I think that having these different controls over us does affect us throughout our lives, obviously. I think most people would agree with me. But with people who are abducted, I think that it carries scars that we have that go on for the rest of our lives until we pass away. And so what came to my mind is that the different connection and relationship that they have with each other, do they have a relationship with each other? So it's like the school that I went to, did they have a connection with the military in Albuquerque, New Mexico? So obviously, yes, because I was taken from this school, this Catholic school, and bused to this base in Albuquerque. I'm not going to say the base name, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out if you look it up. And I talked to my sister, my older sister, and she has a block of a couple years at this Catholic school. Now, I just went there for 1 year, my first grade. And my middle sister, she doesn't have bad experiences at this school. But I think that some of that might be blocked even for her. I think we're all really good at blocking out the negative stuff, and I think that when you're going through traumatic experiences, that that's just part of a survivor mechanism so that we can continue on. But as you get older, those blocks kind of they come down, and then you have to figure out what to do with the information that you're dealing with. Now, I remember when I was at this Catholic school that when I was being bussed out, I think I was being put in programs and different and being tested for different things because they were trying to figure out if I was good at anything. And I think maybe telepathy, maybe some other stuff. I don't know if the Rh negative blood has anything to do with it. It can be, you name it. There's probably multiple reasons why they pick certain people, certain families. But I always wondered why at this particular school, why they made it okay for the military to come in and to take us. Because it did affect my schooling to the point to where I just didn't learn anything. And then uh, when it came time for, I guess, the report card at the end of the year, principal, who was a really creepily mean nun, told my mother that I was retarded and then that there's no way I could learn anything and that, they tried their best, but I was the problem, they weren't the problem. So I had to go through all of these tests to prove that I wasn't retarded, and that scarred me. And that stayed with me my whole life, thinking that because this establishment or this school was doing something they weren't supposed to, and it affected how I was learning, that they just went, well, she's just retarded. She's just, that's her, that's your problem with her. So what was interesting is that even with this experience at this Catholic school, when I went into public school, which the doctors all said, "Hey, put her in public school, she'll probably do better." And I did. I thrived in public school. But the thing, it never stopped. It didn't stop. Experiences didn't stop just because I was in public school. So they just went about doing things with me differently. And I remember multiple times up until I was probably 12, where I would be followed, where I'd had an experience with a car where there was an alien in the car, where there was probably I don't even remember the driver, but I'm assuming there was a human driver. All I know is that I booked it home and I was scared. I remember being taken from home. I remember all kinds of stuff. So they just went about getting me differently. So the aliens, if they've chosen you to be part of a project, they're going to figure out a different way to get you. And so that's what they kind of did with me. But what I find interesting is that the control that they had with me, the the as a child was so traumatic. And that's the whole point of today's video is these different groups having such control over the masses. Now, who's to say that was religion first? No, I think that obviously the aliens created religion. I just think it was something created. And I don't want to go into the ancient aliens aspect or the Egyptian aspect of all of this. I'm just going to go according to my experience here in this time frame in this lifetime because I think that religion is important for people. It's comfort for them. It's solace. They people have to go someplace that they feel comfortable and they feel safe. But it never occurred to me that I needed a religion to come between me and my belief in God and my knowing in God. I mean, my relationship with God is in me. I like going into churches because I think they're beautiful, but I don't feel the sense of of being a Catholic or Baptist or Protestant or Methodist or whatever. I just don't feel the need to be part of a religion in order for me to understand who God is. God can tell me directly what I need to know. And so I'm maybe a bit of a rebel. Not that there's not other people who don't feel the same way I do, but it's the control aspect that has always bothered me. Now, I remember when I was growing up, and so does my older sister. We remember being very afraid of certain areas in New Mexico. And New Mexico is called the land of enchantment. And I think the scare factor is part of that control mechanism. So, the one area that we were really afraid of is Los Alamos. And as I've stated before, I have an uncle who worked at Los Alamos. We didn't know what he did. He never said, but he died from um, cancer from radiation. So when we would go to Los Alamos, she and I would just the trepidation of having to go was horrible. It was traumatic. Now, for me, I remember being taken to Los Alamos and having to do things with grays, as I was spoke in another video where I was doing levitation with the grays and having the soldiers guarding us, circling around us, and on the outskirts, I guess, making sure nobody came up on us. But I think that I just remember that. I remember the the fear of being away from my family, and I knew instinctively that my parents didn't know that they were taking me out. I just knew it. It's just like knowing you don't have the permission of your parents, and my parents were disciplinarians, so I knew that, if they ever found out, I would probably get in trouble, not for people taking me out of school. But I realized that this goes even further. It's about inappropriate relationships with children. And I remember that there was a man who I would call a handler, who when I was very young, he was not in the military. I think he was with government. And he was always in a suit or he was always in civilian clothes. And I remember that he was probably the first experience I had of an inappropriate relationship at such a very young age. I was around 6. And I remember when a situation happened when I was in actually a hotel room with this gentleman. My clothes were still on. I don't think he did anything inappropriate to me, or I don't have any memory of that. But I was lying on the bed with him when a knock came at the door, and it was some military people, and I believe it was MPs were with them, and they were really angry with me being in the room with him, and they started arguing. And I think they wanted to take me. They wanted, to get me out of the room. I think I actually eventually went and ended up having to go with them. But I always had the sense that maybe this guy was trying to get me out of this program. And I don't know why, but I just had the sense that he was trying to get me out of whatever program that I was in. And this is probably when I was a little bit older. I don't think I was 6 at the time of this experience happening. I think I was a little bit older, like 7 or 8. And anyways, I remember that the sexual aspect of control has a lot to do with victims who are abducted or who are dealing with uh, military stuff or who are dealing with the religious aspect of things at all, and with all these three things connected. So when you take away the security blanket of being able to be a child, you create someone, whether you're an abductee, whether you're someone who's had trauma due to religious inappropriate relationships or the military doing stuff with you that isn't right. It just creates different aspects of your personality of who you are, and then what you're left with when you get older is having to come back and figure out and pull yourself back together again. And it's not even like gluing yourself back together, but just pulling yourself back together again so that you can figure out who you really are. And I think that's kind of where I'm at this point in my life, is just trying to pull myself back and understand all the experiences that I've had so that I can be a sane person. And that doesn't mean that I'm always successful, because I'm not. It just means that with all these experiences that I've had, I'm trying to figure out some kind of sense to it all. And I'm trying to put it together like a jigsaw puzzle so that it makes more sense and I can actually see it for what it is and then let it go. So I don't want to be an abductee that holds on to the fact that I was abducted a lot when I was a child. I don't want to hold on to the fact that when I went to this Catholic school when I was 6, that they had the military bust me out a lot, and I didn't learn like I was supposed to. I'm not gonna, hold on to all of that stuff and make it so important. I want to see it for what it is and then kind of move on from it. And I think it's important to understand every aspect of the abduction scenario and everything that has to do with the what I'm doing now, what we're all doing now in our lives. When I was in at this school, I remember a moment in time, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to mention it again because I think it's important, where I was playing with some kids, 2 girls, and I think I levitated. I did something that I was trained to do as a young child, from the Greys, and I scared the crap out of them, and when I scared the crap out of them, one of the girls ran off screaming, yelling, and the one girl that stayed, she was, like, looking at me, and she said, "If you keep doing something like stuff like that," whatever it was, "you're not gonna have any friends." And I said, "Well, can't you do that?" And she said, "No." And I was shocked because I thought, "Well, every kid can do this." Well, that's not true. Not every kid could do whatever it was that I did. I never did it again. And that very moment is when things changed for me when I would be bussed out. I was adamant that no, I wasn't going to learn anything crazy and strange that would keep me from making friends. So I was only 6. So I mean, why should I have to? Uh, why would a 6-year-old have to worry about levitation not being the normal thing, and then having kids scream and yell because they're watching you do it? They should think about stuff like that, because as a child, if you have that ability, you're gonna do it. And you're gonna do it naturally, instinctively, right? So, now that I'm an adult, I'm, like, going, "Damn, I wish I could do that." Maybe I'll remember, maybe I won't, but I do know that there's different things that the abductions have done to me, religion has done, and, um, the military has done that has affected me to this very day. And I think it's really important to understand that it was the cruelty is something that you can take as an adult to say, "Well, that wasn't right, they shouldn't have done that." But it it took me a long time to get to the point to where I truly understood that the control that they had over me, I'm the one in control now. I'm the one that can take control. And it was the probably the most amazing thing for me was when I saw this painting, and I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. And I saw these two bunny rabbits that were in this painting. I'm going to show it to you. And when I was a young girl, and I don't think it was the aliens who did this, I think it was the military group that did this. They threatened me and said that if I said anything to anybody about what I was being taught, what I was doing, that they would hurt my family, specifically my mother. And I had this unusual attachment with my mother, not because I was a mama's girl, because I was more of a daddy's girl, but because I had that guilt, the responsibility of her not getting hurt on my shoulders. Anyways, they would get us to be silent by hurting animals in front of us. And then if we didn't do something correctly, they would hurt the animal, they'd kill it. And then they would say, "Well, that's your fault, you because you didn't do what we said. This is pretty much what's going to happen." And then they take it even further by saying what they're going to do to your family and say, "Well, if you didn't like this, imagine what we'll do to your mother." So I saw this painting and then I realized, well, these are animals that can never be hurt or touched. Only thing that could ever happen is if I have a fire or whatever. But it's not like, they're real bunny rabbits. But these rabbits represent for me animals that can't be hurt or just touched. They just can't. They're always going to live on in this painting. And I think that's when I started healing from the responsibility of all those experiences when I was a child of the animals that they basically said that I was responsible for dying. And I think it's important to kind of take control of what's happened in the past and see it for what it is. And then, like I said, move on from it because you can't hold on to it. And I don't want to hold on to it. I got better things to do. I want to do amazing things in the dream state and share them with you guys and do things that I've never that maybe I was supposed to have done that I'm not doing yet. So I know that the dimensional walking came from what they taught me as a child. That's the whole point of this channel is because this is what they taught me. I was supposed to do amazing things in the dream state. I was supposed to be able to take things from one realm and actually bring them physically into this reality. That's what they were training me for. And I want to do it. But I want to do it on my terms and I want to learn how to do it with help from my higher guides and beings who want to help me with my highest good. I want to be able to do all the stuff that I was supposed to have done at a very young age. I want to do it. I'm ready for it. But I don't want that control over me. I don't want that scare factor in my life. And I'm I think I'm getting a little bit closer to being able to do things in the dream state. And that's why I'm hoping this year that I'm going to be able to tell you things and show you things that I've been doing. But until that point, I'm still struggling as always with trying to figure out how to do different things in the dimensional walking aspect of the dream state. So we'll see where that goes. But until that point in time, um, I'll try to get to a point in my life to where I can share more and more stuff with you guys that isn't so painful. But what I want to do is show you this painting. And here it is. And let's see if I can get it up close. So this is the painting I saw. Michael was like, "Why do you even want that?" And it was just because I wanted it because it represented animals that can't be hurt. And so I wanted to make sure, and I think I've shared this a couple times. I want to keep sharing it because every time I share it with you guys, I get healed. But these bunny rabbits can't get their throats slashed. These little bunny rabbits won't die in front of me. And they're alive in this painting, and that's the whole point of this. So I'm grateful that I was able to start healing from that and being responsible for things that no child should ever be responsible for. But you have to wonder, what is the connection between the religious, the military, and the alien phenomena? There is a connection. There's a connection between all three of them. They all go hand in hand. I know the aliens probably work with the military. I know the military go into schools. They um, they look at children. They look to see what their home life is like. I know I had a dance student who told me all about this, where they like kids who don't have a good family background, where it's very dysfunctional, because then they can take those children, and as they grow up, they can actually control them and create soldiers or whatever it is that they need in the way that they need them. So I think that in all of this, it's just been become very clear to me that it's all about the control. And so we need to take back the control. Taking back the control just means you're starting to heal, and it just means that you can understand what's happened to you, but not hold on to it. And just to make sure that when it's all said and done, that you become a whole person again without any of the trauma and the blocks and all the crap that they have put on you. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. So if you have any comments below, if there's any of you who have had abductions or had any military experiences or have had anything that you want to share, please do share it with us. I I know that I always enjoy the comments that you guys leave, and I hope that by me sharing stuff that's not comfortable for me, because none of this is comfortable, it's just not, that it helps you guys understand that you're not alone. Because if you're going through it, there's other people going through it as well. And that's the whole point of these videos. So take care, and I will see you all in the next video.